Hello, this is Joe with Smoking Joe's Pit Barbecue, and you are listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is the show where we talk about all things that are important to the world of barbecue and grilling, originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. No matter what Andrew Eschbaugh says, Cleveland is the barbecue capital of the North Coast. If you're unfamiliar with me, I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday. If you want to jump in on the show this evening, here's how you do that.
You can get in touch with the show by calling 216-220-0966. Email Greg at the bbqcentralshow.com. On the Twitter and Instagram, said BBQ Central Show.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening coming up in about 13 minutes from now. It is the first Tuesday of yet another new month, 2021, rapidly coming to a close. And that means we are visited by Malcolm Reed from How to Barbecue Right. And we'll catch up with Malcolm, see what's changed in the last 4 weeks. We'll also talk about his jaunt down to Jamaica. Oh, I want to know why Malcolm prefers Jamaica. I have a long-standing edict here on this show to not...
Andrew, you are not the father.
Not leave the country, so I want to live Jamaica through Malcolm's eyes, because that's the only way in hell I will be going to Jamaica, but maybe I will be inspired to at least put it in the potential category. We'll see about that. Also, updates on Malcolm's barbecue shop that he has out there in Hernando and other things going on as well. I think there's some kind of promotional event that might be coming up here in the next handful of days that we can talk about. So plenty to catch up with as it relates to Malcolm Reed over at How to Barbecue Right. At 35 past 9 o'clock, we will be joined once again by friend of the show and longtime grill reviewer for AmazingRibs.com, affectionately known as the Keeper of the Flame, Max Good. Max will be giving us the final reviews of the Spark Grill that was all the rage here about a month ago. We had the CEO of the company on. We talked to him about it and got his pitch, and then we had asked some other live fire experts about their opinions. Meathead talked about it during some of his time in February, when we also talked about how they go about reviewing items and what happens if they get a bad review. How was that relayed back to the manufacturer and steps that can be taken, all that fun stuff. So Max Good, 35 past, that takes care of the first hour, and then we move to the second hour. Not only is Malcolm joining us as the normal first Tuesday of the month regular guest in the first hour, we have a second hour regular guest as well. You would know him as Sam the Cooking Guy. TheCookingGuy.com is his website, and quite a I mean, between Malcolm and Sam, there's damn near 4 million YouTube subscribers between them. Malcolm, well over 1 million. Sam at 2.6, I think, at last count. So both of them are eclipsing online celebrity status at breakneck speeds, and I'm happy to have them both be a part of this show the first Tuesday of every month. And we'll talk to Sam about pellet cooking a little bit. We'll talk to him about maintenance. We'll talk to him about technology on grills. I think it would be an interesting perspective. Certainly a lot of the folks that we know have opinions on this kind of stuff. But as someone, I've long said now, as I have been a fan of Sam's for 10 years watching his videos. And more in the last 6-7 years when they transitioned out of the live cast and into this 3 times a week produced cooking videos, that I had to break the news to Sam at one point saying, hey, by the way, I don't know if you knew it or not, but you have a live fire cooking show all the time on that Evo cooker flat top, all the time on the grill and on the Traeger and on that Kamado style cooker that he's got. He's a live fire cooking show. He didn't know it. So would love to get his take on all the technology that's showing up on grills now and what's needed and what might not be needed. And when are we get off the lawn guy versus kids coming up? Did I just say kids? Damn, I'm getting old. Newcomers getting into the industry that might feel that this is just items that inherently should be on cookers nowadays. It's different than it was 15 and 20 years ago when I got into this whole deal. So that's your lineup for tonight. Malcolm Reed coming up in just a few minutes. Max Good after that. And second hour, Sam the Cooking Guy, 216-220-0966. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com if you want to jump in. Don't forget, you can follow me socially at BBQ Central Show on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Snapchat. Facebook and Twitch /BBQ Central Show for video feeds. Also video feed, youtube.com/RDRempe. First and foremost, we want to give a shout out to a very loyal Centralite. You would know him in the chat rooms as Guy the Cooking Sam. We want to wish him well as he is currently in the throes of a COVID infection. And he's having some respiratory issues. He's feeling different every day, not necessarily in a positive way. And he has lost taste. I can tell you, as somebody who had a COVID sufferer in my house, namely my middle daughter, Maddie, many months removed at this point, her taste has not.
Andrew, you are not the father.
I hate to say it, Guy, but her taste has not come back yet. And I forget every day, and when we have some kind of food, and I say, hey, Maddie, how was that? She's like, how would I know? Like, right. You don't have any taste. Why am I feeding you anything other than bread and cheese? It's the same. You can't taste anything. You could put a little bit more money in the bank, not eat the same food if you can't taste. Nevertheless, we wish Guy the Cooking Sam well and a speedy recovery, whatever that looks like. Some listener feedback from Christian. Just wanted to drop my quick comment on last week's spot. Derek says, I worry about the future of barbecue in reference to technology making it so easy. Derek also said, and I quote, I set up my big green egg at 8 a.m., didn't have to do anything with it till about 5 p.m. In other words, Derek Riches yells at clouds and tell kids to get off his lawn. Thank you, Christian. Mike writes in, Greg, what is going on with Derek Riches recently? He has always been a great writer, but his last 2 segments have been great live on the show. He's really found a personality on your show. He should thank you for bringing him out of his shell. Yes, Mike, I'm sure I will reach out to him right after the show and beg for his thank yous as I evolve Derek into a gregarious interview. Eric writes into the show, Greg, I was listening to the podcast the other day, and I was very interested in the grill cleaner business segment you had on recently. I've looked into owning some kind of business, but the cost to enter way, way too high for me in most things I've already looked into. However, $35,000 does seem to be on the low side for the grill cleaner business. If I pull the trigger, I will be happy to be your test subject on the show. Eric, thank you. I hope that if you do pull that trigger, you text me or email me, hit me up on the slide into the DMs, whatever they're saying these days, and let me know that you have signed the paperwork and you're ready to roll, because I want to get a quarterly recurring visit with you for sure and see how that grill cleaner business. So let me know about that, Eric. Finally, Chuck writes in, Greg, I'm a huge fan of the embedded correspondence segment each month, but I have to disagree with your longest running correspondent when it comes to the Mo Cason reaction. It is more than evident that Doug has a hard-on for Darren Worth and his competition accomplishments. Good for Doug in holding those in such high regard. However, winning that much proves zero when it comes to making food for the masses. It shouldn't matter to you how many competition wins or titles he has. Some of the best barbecue restaurants in the country and Texas are owned by folks who haven't done or won anything on the competition scene. Doug, why don't you and Darren go get a room already? Wow, Chuck. I mean, I think Doug is entitled to his opinion. I tend to agree more with you, Chuck, that being successful in one arena or the other doesn't translate to instant success in the other arena. And if Doug and Darren want to be out in the open, I'm good with that too, whatever. Or if they want to get a room, as Chuck said. Thank you for writing in. Malcolm Reed is in the green room. We'll get to him here in just 1 second. I'll talk to you quickly about Pits and Spits. Since 1983, handcrafting smokers and grills in Houston, Texas. In that time, establishing itself as one of the premier brands in high-quality offset smokers and more recently pellet cookers, Pits and Spits sets itself apart by using heavy 7 and 10 gauge steel in every cooker, fully welded construction that you can feel when you use the unit, and a 304 stainless roll-top lid on the front shelf of every single smoker. So why does that matter? Well, by using higher quality material, Pits and Spits smokers reach and maintain temperatures, allowing you to worry more about the meat than the heat. And by providing fully welded smoker, you don't have to worry about grease smoking out of the barrel, that grill rattling apart as you move it through the backyard. And by using 304 stainless, you're getting an heirloom quality product that you'll be able to pass down to your kids. Now, where some companies are focusing on being the low-cost provider, Pits and Spits focuses on craftsmanship and quality materials. Are there cheaper ways to manufacture our products? Sure. But Pits and Spits not down with tack welds or cheap stainless or electronics that you can't trust. Having in-house manufacturing gives them complete control of their design and standards, not something you find with stuff brought in from overseas. Their steel suppliers supply materials to be used in some of the harshest environments around, so you know they're going to perform in any and all conditions. And their controllers are made here right in the States, so they have unimpeded transparency into the program. Pits and Spits has a dealer network across the country. We know this, but if there isn't one close to you, you can call Coy in the shop and tell them I sent you. 844-650-6250. That's 844-650-6250. Whether you're a backyard grill master or a competition cooking team, Pits and Spits has a product that's right for you. You can check them out online at pitsandspits.com, all spelled out, or see their pits in the wild across social media with their handle at Pits and Spits. Sorry for laughing. That email from Chuck got me going. Pits and Spits, serious. My laughing, completely unprofessional. By the way, in a related and unrelated note, Ryan Zabril will be joining us in a few short weeks from Pits and Spits as well to get us on topic of, or get us on top of what's going on in Houston with Pits and Spits. Malcolm Reed is ready to rock. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the #1 most downloaded barbecue and grilling podcast anywhere. The BBQ Central Show. Broadcasting live from the BBQ Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back to this portion of the show being brought to you by the Barbecue Guru, creators of automatic pit temperature control technology, sellers of ceramic cookers with built-in power draft fans and accessories to make your barbecue and grilling life easier. Visit bbqguru.com for more information or give them a call at 800-288-GURU. The Barbecue Guru continues to be a breakthrough in barbecue technology. Soon we will have Bob Trudnak on the show as well. He's got new sauces ready to hit the market. So always looking forward to catching up with Bob as it fits into his schedule. As I had mentioned a few minutes ago, it is the first Tuesday of the final month of Q1, if you can believe it. Here we go. We welcome back the pitmaster of Killer Hogs competition team and the co-founder of How to Barbecue Right, Malcolm Reed. Hey, Malcolm.
What's happening, Greg?
And I am ready to rock and roll. If you can believe, we are just almost a year removed of what started the most bizarre 12 months in my lifetime. I would imagine your lifetime, although I don't know how you guys get down there in Hernando, but this has been quite a awakening of sorts. As you look back, Malcolm, I know we didn't really have this on a topic, but just wanted your off-the-cuff thoughts. As you look back through this last year, what was the thing that sucked the most, in your opinion, and what was the best thing that you took out of it?
Well, all the big contests canceling. That sucked for me, man.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't get to go to, we didn't do Memphis in May. They didn't have the Houston Livestock Show. They didn't have the Jack Daniels. I mean, the Royal. I mean, you think about, you know, from a competition standpoint, that's huge for guys like me that love to get out there and hang out with their buddies and cook barbecue. I guess the best thing I took away from it was getting to spend some quality time with Rochelle and Michael.
Do you realize that maybe there wasn't a lot? I mean, this is going to sound completely off base, and I don't mean anything by it, but like, did you realize as you're able to spend this time, forced or otherwise, that there's a new appreciation for being around them?
Oh, most definitely. You know who I appreciate the most is teachers, man. They have the hardest job in the world. I had one kid that we had to try to help distance learn, man. I couldn't imagine having 30. And you know, then half the year it was like in school, and you know, some of them had the choice to distance learn too. So they're basically teaching 2 different lesson plans to groups of kids. I can't thank our teachers enough.
Yeah, I think, you know, for me, one of the suckiest things was realizing that eating out was way more taken for granted than I thought it was. Not that we eat out a whole lot, but there is a small handful of restaurants around here in the greater Cleveland area that we like to go to either as a family, or there's a couple that just my wife and I like to retreat out to get away from everybody. And when they closed down, it was kind of a kick in the face, to say the least. They were places we like to go to unwind and catch up and all that. Positive side for me, everybody in the family had to hone the cooking skills even more. So aside from the family time, I think, and that was everybody, you know, straight down the line, me, my wife, my oldest, the middle, the youngest, all taking part and wanting to learn to be a better cook, whether it be outside or just inside around the stove and stuff. So that was a big takeaway from me. I've mentioned it plenty of times before. I might be the #1 fan of the How to Barbecue Right audio podcast that is, you know, released every week. I love to listen to it Mondays when I'm getting my early morning run in. And there were a couple weeks that passed, and as I was looking for it, I was like, oh, shit, okay, 1 week, I'll let it go. Second week, I'm like, well, Malcolm must be dead. Something's going on. Immediately go, worst case scenario. So I drop you a note, and you're like, yeah, man, we were just on vacation. We're starting to roll back again. So you head down to Jamaica, as I had mentioned in the open. Not your first time down there. So what is Jamaica like, and why would you go back there again and again?
So Rochelle and I went 12 years ago for our honeymoon. We went to Negril, Jamaica, and we loved it. We fell in love with the people down there, the food. That's where I first started really getting into jerk type recipes and different meats and seafood that you could do with jerk. And then, of course, the rum. I mean, they've got the best rum in the world. So, and the weather's not bad either. You know, it's like a smooth 86 year round, 78 at night. You know, there's not much variance. It's beautiful, man. It's paradise.
Aside from the jerk stuff, I think from a culinary standpoint, when you think of Jamaica, you immediately go to the jerk. But in other ways has Jamaica influenced some of your flavor profiles that you bring back when you're looking to cook that style of food?
Well, a lot of it's just the fresh ingredients they use. They grow a lot of produce there on the island. And so their tomatoes, their cucumbers, all of their vegetables and their fruit, I mean, it just tastes like the sunshine. You know, it's different than what we get in our supermarkets. And the way they use those fresh ingredients, I mean, you know, in all their cooking across the board, it's amazing. And they take something so simple. It's one of the easiest foods to cook. It's just they're using what they have there. So whether it's seafood, whether it's pork, whether it's chicken, whatever it is, they use simple ingredients. They make it taste phenomenal, and it's usually cooked pretty simple. The technique's not difficult, but they take what they have and they make it taste great. And that's what I'm all about.
When you are out there, are you in inside the wire, if you will, or are you pretty much free to roam? And what's culture like out there?
Well, normally you can get out and go on excursions and kind of go to the towns and stop at some jerk huts and things like that. And that's what we try to do. But during COVID, I mean, you were pretty much confined to the resort we stayed on. They didn't, the Jamaican government did a really good job about kind of curtailing without totally closing tourism. So we took a COVID test to get in. We had to take a COVID test to get back in the U.S. And so we pretty much stayed on resort, and we wore a mask when we were indoors, and you got to kind of keep to yourself when you were outside. And it all worked out. It was no trouble at all, really, traveling.
Do you plan to go back sooner than later?
Oh, I'm going back at the end of May. We're taking Michael this time.
All right. Lucky guy. Maybe you can take me in a saddlebag or something.
If it all works out, me and Rochelle are going to spend a lot of time down there one of these days.
All right. Well, I think there's some foreshadowing there that we might follow up on in a future segment. Malcolm Reed joining me here on the show, howtobbqright.com is website. A few segments back, Malcolm, we had kind of just touched right at the end of it almost that you were getting a rub into Walmart. And once you start to roll back and look, man, that's a pretty major deal. A lot of folks that are getting into rub, that's a goal of theirs, just to get into some type of a big retailer, whether it be a Sam's Club or a Costco or a Walmart as you have. What's the update on Walmart business right now?
So far, so good. I mean, it's selling pretty well there. I mean, I think they've had their worst year and their best year. I mean, the worst year being they can't keep stuff on shelves. So when you go in there, things are empty. But if that's kind of been our hang up. They don't allow you to slip up in the supply chain. So you've got to be so compliant with Walmart standards, and that means like usually your orders are 98% there on time and right. So if you mess up, they give you one strike, and then two strikes, you're out. So you never know how it's going to go. It's all kind of depending on the logistics of getting the products manufactured and then getting it to Walmart, to one of their supply centers or distribution centers. So it's a challenge. I mean, anytime you're dealing with something that large a scale, I'm constantly learning.
So you're in stores currently?
Oh yeah. We've got every store in the United States, I think.
Oh. Wow. Was there
one product?
Right. So has there been talk?
Like they've got a bunch of them.
Has there been talk about adding anything at some point, or is it still a wait and see on this?
I hope so. I think with uncertain times. I mean, Walmart's one of those. I guess other large companies do it too. They have a couple times a year where they let people pitch new products to go to their stores, and you kind of have to throw something at them and see if they like your presentation. It depends on how your other products are doing if they're in there. So hopefully my sales will be good enough when it comes time to re-up.
How did you get into that? I forget the story. And then how do you negotiate a deal? Do they just tell you what they're going to pay, or is there some room for bargaining there?
So we've got a local, I guess you'd call it kind of a broker in Mississippi that was doing some other grocery chains and things like that had picked up our products. And he had a buddy that did that for Walmart. And so he told him he should take a look at our product. And, he come out, and I kind of gave him the spiel and showed him some of our numbers. And he said he'd like to go to Walmart and see, because he had some other products in Walmart. So we kind of have a middleman. I don't get to do much negotiating. They kind of tell me what to do. So, I just you rely on a broker or a middleman type person that knows the ins and outs and how to work with them from the corporate level.
One of the hot topics on the show over the past few weeks has been discussions about the amount of technology that are going on cookers these days. I've kind of checked myself into the get off my lawn guy to a certain respect in recent weeks. As someone who has evolved into the foremost authority in the barbecue and grilling world, that's you, not me, by the way. What's your take on an industry that seems to be racing to lead the charge in technology when for some of us it all seems a bit unnecessary?
Well, I think it's great for newcomers coming in, the people that may not know how to or want to learn how to go out, build a fire and control it, and use an old-fashioned stick burner or any other pit where you really have to do fire management. It's something that it's an entry level. It's an entry level smoker into this type of cuisine that we all love, and I think it's great. I mean, I think the progression usually is people step up and they go looking for a more authentic flavor eventually. But it's a great starting point. I mean, I see some of the electric grills, and I've seen the pellet grills come on strong. And so, I talk to a lot of people and push newcomers to pellet grills often, because it lets them, turn out some decent food with minimal effort, which is great.
Am I the old guy thinking that the way I got into this was better, where you had to learn how to do it first. So my track was Weber Smoky Mountain. Somehow I ended up getting a close 42-inch offset off of some guy for free in a city that was like 2 cities down from me. He just wasn't going to use it. And I said, if I bring a trailer, can I have it? And he's like, oh, yeah, absolutely. And then so I learned how to do a whole stick burner situation. And then almost under protest, it was like a secret that I kept in the dark. The guy, Mark Graham from Grilla, approached me when they had first started making them and asked if he could send me one. Didn't want any promotion, just wanted me to use it and feed him back info once or twice a month as I was kind of keeping notes just to help them develop it a little bit better. And that was my first foray into pellet cookers, and I felt so dirty for a number of reasons. I was always against them, and now I had one. And then I was keeping it a secret from everybody, and I was falling in love with pellet cookers at the same time. But to me, that seemed to be the best way because you had to learn the fire management. My devil's advocate at this stage of the game is you can start without knowing and never have to know. And I think you miss out on a potential part of the romance of barbecue when you don't have to anymore.
Oh, I definitely think, learning how to build the fire and add the smoke to the meat, the old fashioned way is the way to go. That's the best barbecue there is. I mean, that's where the art is. But there's something to be said for somebody to be able to, flip a switch and set a temp and cook some good barbecue. I mean, I don't know if it's a right or wrong way. I'm kind of like you. I came up the way you did, being in competition side of thing. We always had big smokers, and that's how we learned to cook. And then pellet grills were something of a novelty that I thought was cool. That's why I wanted one. And then when I found out you could just set them and leave them and get some sleep or whatever, I was like, this is great, So there's a place for them, man. There's a place for them. I don't knock anybody for trying to cook barbecue or wanting to get better at it, but I do kind of try to say, you got to go out there and learn how to run a fire, because that's when you're really a pit master. I think when you can do it on different pits and you know how to control the airflow and control the temperature, know what it's going to do. That's when that's when you've really got some skills.
All right, so let's go ahead and knock out some of these Facebook questions that we got. By the way, Malcolm has a new community page over on Facebook. So if you have not joined that yet, I mean, you were well over 3,000 members when I had made the original post yesterday soliciting questions. First one's from Michael Underwood. It says, when is Heath Riles going to come do the Cop chicken leg recipe video? Is that on the board?
Well, I've got to get him on there. We've been teasing that for a while, and he's been telling me he's going to come show me how he does his competition recipe. So as soon as I can twist his arm enough to come over and show everybody how to do it, maybe that's what he's holding back on. He don't want to give away all of his secrets, but I'm going to get him to. I'm going to get him to give it out.
Fair enough. Melvin Crosby Jr. asks, what will the hours be at his grand opening Saturday, and can you talk a little bit more about what will be happening?
Yeah, well, we got those Dolly Parton hours, man, at 9 to 5 Saturday. And we're pulling all the grills out we have. We've got the Outlaw stick burners. We've got some Traegers. We've got the Gateway drums. We're going to have a Weber out there. We're just going to do some demoing, man, cook some ribs. We're going to cook some pork loin, some chicken, several different ways. Ribeye steak demos. We're doing some kind of prime rib. Something's on the schedule. We're getting out all our crawfish cooking, our jambalaya pots. We're gonna cook up some crawfish and cook some jambalaya. So it's just gonna be a lot of fun.
What's your jambalaya recipe?
Well, it's not very complicated. I learned it from a Cajun guy down in Grand Isle, Louisiana. But you start out with some vegetables. That old trinity: the bell pepper, the onion, the celery. And you start out with some chicken thighs is usually what I start with, and get those browned up. You're flavoring that oil and flavoring that pot. Then we throw in some sausage, and then we add our rice and our chicken stock, and we bring it up to a boil and let it cook about 20 minutes. And we take the lid off, and we do what we call flip it, where you take a big paddle, you turn the jambalaya over in the pot, so the bottom rice comes up to the top, and you put the lid back on it. Just let it sit there for about another 10, 15 minutes, and it's ready to go. I mean, we season it with Cajun seasonings, all that good stuff, hot sauce, all that stuff. But it's not a really complicated dish.
Is that andouille sausage, or do you use something else?
I like to use andouille, yeah, for sure. I like a good chicken and sausage jambalaya.
Sounds great. I'll try that. I think I can handle that. Brian is asking, I'd like to know if Malcolm would do something on the Big Green Egg rotisserie so we could pick up any tips he might have. Do you have something like that?
I don't have a rotisserie for my big green egg, so that's something I may need to check into getting, Greg.
Brian, why don't you
That's a
send
good idea.
Malcolm a rotisserie and then he'll use it on a video? I mean, I think that's like
That's
a
right.
match made
Hey.
in heaven, no doubt. Scott Zielinski says, hi, do you have any tips for maintaining a steady temperature on an offset smoker? Loaded question.
Well, it's all about that airflow, man. You gotta have your exhaust and your intake running. You gotta have that fire burning clean. And usually, I start off with a good bed of coals and then switch to sticks. And that's what if you've got it drafting right and you don't have that smoker overloaded, it's going to flow through it, and you shouldn't have too much trouble. I like to control it all with the exhaust vent.
In case Scott doesn't know, when you talk about starting out with a bed of coal, you actually mean charcoal that you're lighting up first, throwing that down, and then as that burns, you start throwing sticks on top of that.
That's right. I usually start off with about a chimney full. Get that going, get you a good hot bed of coals, and then your sticks will do the rest of the work for you.
This is just my opinion. I've cooked on a lot of stick burners in my time here, and I say on a stick burner, certainly you're looking to get and hold the temperature, but I do think you're also cooking on the swing. So if you add a stick, you're probably going to see a little bit of a temperature increase off of what your target might be, and as it starts to burn down, it might dip below what your target's going to be. So you're riding that S curve, that horizontal S curve, whatever the hell that's called. So if you're looking to just dial into a specific temp like you would get, well, even pellet grills are on a little bit of a swing. They're a little bit more consistent. I'm never too concerned if my offset swings 15 degrees or 20 degrees here and there. Not spike and stay up there, but if it swings up and down, I'm pretty good on the average, I think.
That's definitely right. And a lot of times I tell people just to put a piece of electrical tape over that dial so you're not watching it. Once you know how you got it lined in, because those ups and downs aren't going to hurt you, Greg. That's what's going to give you that flavor, is that wood burns and it puts off smoke and you get those little spikes and stuff. That's good for it. A big thing is the airflow. So like, you might have to take that pit and turn it if you got a draft coming in from that end of it. I've seen that help some stick burners where people are fighting it. They don't realize it's just the wind pushing in it. So a lot of times think about that. You may have to build something to block some of it or shield it, but you want decent airflow and you want to control it with that exhaust.
That's right. Know the environment. Phil Lamson wants to know, will you ever do a cookbook? Great question.
Maybe one of these days.
Have you not been approached ever?
I have. It just hadn't been the right time, man. They just, I love cookbooks. I collect them. I have a lot of old cookbooks, and I buy all my buddies or anybody that comes out with a new cookbook. I usually buy it to have, but it's just something to, maybe one of these days I'll do a How to Barbecue Right cookbook or something with all the recipes I've done compiled in it or something.
That would be like an encyclopedia kit. You've done a bunch of recipes at this point.
We've got several.
Aaron McGrady asks, if you could own one smoker only, which one would it be?
Oh, man, that's my old Hickory, man. I always say that. It's my CTO, man. It's a machine. I could make $1 with it if I had to, Greg. Times got bad.
Yes, that's right. Mitchell Bedwell is asking if you have any new products on the roadmap.
I guess the last one I've been working on is a white barbecue sauce. But it turns out it's kind of hard to find a manufacturer that'll work with mayo. So that's been the challenge. But I think I found one. I've got a sample sent out. So we're going to see if they can, what their recipe turns out. If it's, if they can make my recipe, if it's close to the sample I sent. So we'll see. Hopefully sometime this year.
The first Tuesday of the month brings a visit from a prolific YouTuber in the live fire industry, and you know him as Malcolm Reed, also the pitmaster of Killer Hogs Barbecue. We'll see what the competition season brings this year, Malcolm, as we wait with crossed fingers. But I know this, in April, we're going to be right back here at the beginning of the month talking about what's transpired over the last 4 weeks, and as always, appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Hey, thanks, Greg. If anybody's out in Hernando, y'all come see us Saturday at the shop, 496 Whitfield.
That's right, 9 to 5. Thanks, Malcolm.
9 to 5.
There he is. So get out there in Hernando and see what it's all about. I mean, he mentioned that they're going to be cooking. That should be motive enough. And then who knows what kind of deals could be swung between 9 and 5 at the real open house. There was a soft open. Now, grand opening. Here we go. Good luck, and we'll get a report on that. I'll talk to you quickly about Green Mountain Grills. Some of the best pellet cookers out there on the market today. You have a couple different lines to choose from. the Choice line and the Prime line. Okay? So Choice, you save some cash. You don't have the Wi-Fi technology. You don't have internal meat probes. It's the same size cooker whether you're doing Choice or Prime line, but Choice will save you a few bucks. So if you don't need it, save the money. Now, if you want to spend a little bit of it, fine. Prime is the one you want. A little bit more of a sturdier and robust chassis build. You have some neat features like 2 internal meat probes. You have Wi-Fi technology. You have app monitoring. You can control that cooker right through the app as long as you're connected either Bluetooth to the cooker, or I would suggest Wi-Fi. That way, if you're in the grocery store, you can monitor and make adjustments as you see fit. Plus, you got peek-in windows on the main cooking chamber, on the pellet hopper. Prime Plus also gives you lights inside the cooking chamber, but you pick which one's right for you. They're only sold through dealers, so go to greenmountaingrills.com, locate a dealer that is near you. Go check out the dealer, have them explain everything about it. They'll get you all learned up, and then you can take that bad boy home and be ready to rock right from the rip. They got pellets that you can use, sauces and rubs and other accessories. I humbly suggest that you grab the pizza oven insert if you're going to get the Jim Bowie or the Daniel Boone, because you use that a lot as well. So you can have a high-heat pizza oven, then you can go right back to a low and slow cooker if you want. GreenMountainGrills.com. That's GreenMountainGrills.com. And we are back with the keeper of the flame, Max Good, who was in the green room standing by. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
And we thank Malcolm Reed for joining me last segment. Out of bbqright.com is the website. This portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com. Your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. You can visit cookinpellets.com for more information or to purchase. You can also visit Amazon.com and buy from there if you wish. However you want to do it. Perfectly fine with me. As mentioned, my next guest tonight has a job that many of us wouldn't mind having ourselves, testing and then reporting on new grills and cookers hitting the market. His sole purpose in this live fire life, and that's why he is called the Keeper of the Flame. We race to the hotline and welcome back friend of the show, Max Good. Hey, Max.
Hey, Greg. Nice to see you again.
Great to see you again, and happy to have you on the show, and happy that you're making time for me. So we have
always a pleasure.
Well, the pleasure is mine, of course. So we have some items to get to here this evening, and the first place I wanted to start was at the beginning of the year. There was something called Spark Grill that was doing a lot of social media promotion. They had a lot of snazzy looking ads, sparked, pun intended, my interest so much so to reach out on my own. Ended up getting a interview with the CEO of the company, and he had great things to say about it, as a lot of folks do in those type of positions. And then talked to Meathead a little bit about it, but he did say, hey, Max has one. He is putting it through the Max Good paces, and then ultimately culminating in a review that we'll talk about here in a second. So what did you think about Spark Grill, maybe as you saw it initially on some kind of ads, and then what was your experience with it after you got it boxed at Max Good's test kitchen?
Well, certainly their ad campaigns on the internet were impressive, and
Yes.
they had exploding graphics showing the cross sections of the unit and all that. I don't know if others look as analytically at some of these things as I do. It's second nature to me at this point. But I immediately questioned the use of the proprietary fuel. That we have seen a couple things like that, most notably the Bradley smokers. Now they've been around, and a lot of people like them. I'm not saying it can't be done. Unfortunately, as I looked into it further, that was an Achilles heel in the system. It can be rectified, but even as of now, it doesn't appear to me that that's happened.
as you get it together and you start using it, what are your thoughts on how it's operating? And I guess initially, did you have any? I'm sure you try and remain as biased, unbiased as possible. Unbiased,
now,
of course. Unbiased as possible as you're starting to make your way down this road. But I mean, did you have any personal expectations on how it might perform, or things that you were thinking about?
Well, I took it at face value, if you will. I thought, okay, this will be great. You can go temperature range of 200 to 900 degrees. How can you not like that? Not that you can't do that with a regular Weber kettle.
Right.
But, to just dial it up. Hey, I like the convenience. I love pellet smokers. I love to just set it and walk away and say it's done. But unfortunately, this does not work like that, Greg. You have to have a different, they call them bricks. They're like these rectangular molded hunks of charcoal with holes through them. And they give them temperature ranges. None of them that they sent me were recommended to go below 450 degrees. Now, that's not uncommon in a gas grill, but then you just go 2-zone. But their 2-zone systems are kind of weird. With gas grills, you do 2 zones by shutting off a couple burners and leaving a couple burners on. With this, the brick, which is your flaming fuel, is right in the middle. And there's a heat deflector over it. You can remove that heat deflector and you have 2 zones, but the zones are like, I'm looking at your frame here, if my hands will work. Here's your hot zone. And all the way around is your indirect zone.
Almost like a vortex to a degree.
Yeah, now it works, but how are you going to do a turkey or a big hunk of meat on it? Well, we're working on low and slow bricks. Oh, well, that's nice. Here's another thing. The other bricks, they have, it's just kind of wacky. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be disrespectful to them. They obviously are sincere about what they're doing. But they have they call them quick bricks, and they have a more modest temperature range. Once again, not recommended below 450, but they are only meant to last about a half hour. And then they have what they call everyday bricks that last 60 to 90 minutes. And that seemed to be pretty accurate. Those are the things that they're selling. They did send me some they call high temperature bricks, but I got to admit, I kind of said enough before I even did that because I was spending a lot of time with this thing. And I can complain also about instruction. This is a very unusual device, and I think they could do a lot more with instruction. Speaking with their crew, they had a great deal of anecdotal information about, well, you could try this, you could try that. I said, guys, I can't test this for 2-3 months. You guys got to write this up. Yeah. And then on top of it, there's manufacturing problems. They warned me, well, we have had complaints that some of the bricks don't ignite, but we've caught them all. Well, they didn't catch some of them that they sent me because I did have that experience. And I can go, I'll just keep going on. You asked me, tell me when to shut up. One of the ways they ignite is they're impregnated with an alcohol. I call it an accelerant. For some reason, they didn't like that term. They like to call it a plant-based alcohol solution or something of that nature. But the intention is that that's what ignites the brick, the charcoal brick. Now, when they work, and most of the times they did, you get up and running. There's 2 fans that run. They fan the flames. This is interesting. One fan comes from under the brick. That means that's to stoke the fire.
Yep.
Then there's another fan that runs across the cooking grate that's supposed to cool it down. So, this sophisticated technology. When you run out, I found myself racing against time. I said, well, can I just throw another brick in there if I see it dying? Well, you don't want to do that. The alcohol can impart a bad or off flavor and aroma to food. So we don't recommend you do that unless you take the food off.
Oh dear.
And then fire the thing up and let it get going for about 10 minutes. Which, you could say, well, you have to do that with sometimes with a charcoal grill. Well, yeah, but most charcoal grills have kind of easy access. And, if you throw a couple briquettes onto a fire and just goose it up, you usually don't care. You could say, well, you really should let them ash over, and that's true. But, when you're just cooking away and whooping it up, I don't care too much usually.
Also, it seems like the biggest difference would be you're throwing in 2, 3, 4, 5 briquettes. You have to put in a whole new brick to keep the spark going.
Yeah, and they say, well, you can throw a few briquettes on it. Well, tell me more about that. Well, it's not going to work very well. Well, then why are you telling me I can do it? Well, in a pinch you could do it. I said, if you guys are going to recommend that to people, once again, instruction. You can say, in emergency use, do this. Some of our Pitmaster Club members, did I mention our Pitmaster Club, Greg?
What's
All
that?
Of your listeners, why, that's our membership-based club. AmazingRibs.com is free to everyone. But for those who are listening right now, I bet are real, true barbecue aficionados, and they would benefit and love our Pitmaster Club. And you can go to AmazingRibs.com, click on information about the club. 30-day free trial, nothing to lose.
Nothing.
Anyways, it's just been a frustrating experience with it. When it worked okay. I tried it at lower temperature ranges, and it actually would go down to lower temperatures before the dang bricks started dying out. And I said, hey, guys, I got great news for you. You can get these things. Well, we know that, but we don't want to recommend it because sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it doesn't work. And they're going, well, we've had some. I feel like I'm slamming the guys. They seem like wonderful people. I'm sure they're trying to do a good job. But I ultimately had to say, I can't recommend this until they resolve their issues with the bricks. I can't even, the unit seems like it works pretty good, but I can't even attest to that because the bricks were just strange. And then in tandem with that, more instructions since they have such an unusual device.
So if they can get that worked out, they would reapproach you and say, hey, can you give it another shot? Or
they told me to keep it, and I said I would. And I said, if you can address those two things, I will revisit it and give it a second shot. So let's see what they come up with. And then on top of it, Greg,
we're not done digging dirt on the spark.
You can only get their bricks from them online, right?
Right.
6 week wait.
Yes, I
And
believe.
they cost like $5-6 a piece too.
Yes, my betting correspondent Doug Scheiding was talking the same thing, that if you wanted it, you got to be on top of the game to even get some of this fuel, given the wait time. So it's not recommended. You can read the full review, obviously, over at AmazingRibs.com. A couple other items that I wanted to hit on here before we run out of time. The PK Go review. And so everybody knows PK Grill, but there is a different, smaller version in the mix here that you've played around.
Now that is very nice. That's a very nice unit. It's kind of like their larger PK 360. Has the signature design of the PK, the old one from 1952, rectangular shape. It has corresponding lower intake vents on the bottom, on the left and right side, corresponding to the exhaust vents on the top of the lid. Just like the PK3, oh, look at that. That thing, once again, with charcoal, you can get hot.
Yeah.
You see that in that picture, there's clamps on the side for the portability. Now, they do not recommend you lift it by that handle. I can't recall the exact weight, but I'm not saying one person can't lift it, but they recommend you hold it from the sides. actually handles on the sides. But you can really, even this little guy, you can set it up for 2-zone cooking. So you can, have once again the indirect zone on the one side and the hot direct zone on the other. Move things around. Cook chicken at a lower temperature to roast it, and then crisp up the skin on the hot side. It has the lid is really cool. They did this with the 360 as well. There are no fasteners on it. The hinge, it's almost like a tongue and groove type thing. So you can actually lift the lid up and just lift it off. And with the PK Go, you can flip it over and turn it into 2 hibachis if you're just doing high temperature grilling. So that's pretty neat. You like a snap of your fingers, you double your capacity if you're out and about, tailgating, camping, whatever. And if you do want to do chicken and something you want to do with a lid, you got that too. Very well made, as I expect from PK. Not cheap, but it's, you get what you pay for with them.
Max, last one, and we got a couple minutes left, is the Char Griller Flavor Pro review. I hear Char Griller, and I start to shake a little bit. So what can you tell us about this cooker?
Well, you and I have talked about Char Griller and Masterbuilt in recent times.
Yep.
Masterbuilt, of course, has gone through tremendous changes, and a lot of good things, a lot of really great things are happening with them. Char Griller, yeah, I think they're trying to do some new things. They actually have a new one that's coming out that I'll mention if we have time in a minute. But their Flavor Pro intrigued me because it's like a $500 version of a $17,000 Kalamazoo grill, in that it has what Kalamazoo calls their hybrid fire drawer. It's a drawer that slides out, and you can put wood or charcoal in it. Now with Kalamazoo, it works beautifully, but with this one, it just did not. I couldn't get a control over the wood. I mean, you can control the charcoal to some degree, but you don't get a smoke flavor from it. As a gas grill, it works okay, but not as good as their $200 Grillin' Pro gas grill, which I really love. For $200, you can't get anything quite like it. This is about $500. It has a lot of problems. It has adjustable damper chimneys, which gave me a great deal of hope, because when you're trying to, with a gas grill, you can get a smoke box, a smoke tube.
Yep.
But they're so well ventilated. Those, whatever you put in those tubes, usually chips, they burn up in minutes, and all the smoke goes flying out the back vent. With this, I thought, well, they have a very thin vent running along the back. You have the dampered chimneys. When I first started some wood up in it, I thought, oh, this is great. I can see that the smoke is being contained in there. And I got the chimneys just a little bit, just to get the airflow going. Then, boom, the wood just exploded in flames. Oh. Temperature shot up. There was no smoke left. When wood's burning hot, there's no smoke. And I tried and tried to get control of it. And they had videos of guys going, oh, look at all this great smoke. And I'm going, well, how did they pre-burn it? Oh, no, they didn't pre-burn. I'm going, well, what am I doing wrong? And it had other problems too. So I ended up saying, get their Grillin' Pro for $200 and do yourself a favor and just get an inexpensive gas smoker if you want to do both those things.
Easy enough. You can read Max's reviews over at AmazingRibs.com. We've talked about the Char Griller Flavor Pro, which do you recommend that? Like, what's the rating? No.
If you really, I wouldn't say that if you really futzed around with it, you wouldn't get results from it. It's not a bad gas grill. You could probably have some fun goofing around with charcoal and wood on it. But certainly if you're just doing something like fish or something, you could get some small chips and stuff going. But certainly, I can't see doing ribs or anything. Well, you're effectively on it at any rate.
Then there was the PK Go review, which you seem to love and appreciate, so that's probably highly recommended. And then, of course, the length of the conversation here this evening was the Spark Grill review, which we're kind of just putting a bow on at this point, and that bow is not a recommendation at this point, but they have opportunity to come back at you if they can get their fuel right, amongst some other things. So anything coming up in the review hopper that you can tease us with, Max, before we let you go?
Oh, well, all the new Weber stuff that's coming out. I know you've been talking about it a bit.
Yeah.
I have their new portable, which is very much like the Napoleon travel cue with the scissor stand, which is really neat. I haven't had a chance to do too much with that because of the horrible weather we've had. Plus, as you know, we're in the middle of a big project with Amazing Ribs that's been consuming my time, but hopefully I'll get back to that. I did cook on it once, and it seemed like it had some power. I'll give it that. And of course, being Weber, it is well made. They generally make some pretty good stuff. But then the new Genesis and Spirit smart grills are coming out. I am very excited about them. I definitely think Genesis and Spirit grills are very good. And this added layer of technology, I look forward to checking out.
All right. Well, we'll keep tabs on that so we can get your reviews on that in its finality. And in the meantime, you can keep up with Max over at AmazingRibs.com.
Yes,
Max, always appreciate the time, and thank you for coming out tonight.
Well, thank you for having me. Hope to see you again soon.
You got it. There he is, Max Good, right there. Again, the website, of course, AmazingRibs.com. Meathead will be up next week as well. So AmazingRibs.com twice in as many weeks. So I guess not a huge surprise that the spark was de-sparked. But they do have opportunity to come back. So that's always good. I'll talk to you quickly about Primo Cookers. That's right. PrimoGrill.com is the website. Primo Grill, singular.com. What are the key differences here as we look at a Primo versus some of the other round cookers? Of course, the shape, as I kind of led into, oval shape. Its patented oval design offers true two-zone cooking, as I've been telling you about week in and week out. More than 60 cooking configurations are available. It's quality products. This unit is made right here in the States. Precision-controlled manufacturing. And did you know they have the highest quality of ceramics in this Primo cooker? That's right. They also have new products. Updating you for 2021, arriving in showrooms this spring. A new Easy Lift hinge reduces force to lift the grill by 70%. A reduction by force, reducing, can I say this right? New Easy Lift hinge reduces force to lift the grill head by 70%. Precision controlled top and bottom air controlling, allowing you to operate that much more easy and accurately. And upgrade kits are available. You can upgrade your existing Primo with all of these great features as well. Visit your local dealer to see product improvements for yourself. Go to PrimoGrill.com, find a dealer near you. Once again, that's PrimoGrill.com. Primo Ceramic Grill on Instagram and Primo Ceramic Grills on Facebook. Quickly to wrap the first hour, and then we'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rampey.
I'm going to try and get it here. This portion brought to you by Fireboard 2. Monitored up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring or via Bluetooth. If you have smart speakers in the house, fully integrated with those as well. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com. Or call 816-945-2232. That's 816-945-2232. That's Fireboard 2, Fireboard 2 Drive, and Fireboard 2 Pro. Those high heaters, get the Fireboard 2 Pro and give me your review of those thermocouples and the high temp wires and all that stuff. Come on. All right, we are pointing to the second hour. Refresh libations and get ready to tell all your friends that the show is on. We have Sam the Cooking Guy coming up in the second hour as well. We thank Max Good from AmazingRibs.com for joining me last segment, breaking down some new grills that he's tested out. And we will see you here in just a few short seconds. Stick around. We'll be right back.
This is Doug Scheiding of Rogue Cookers, Texas Embedded Correspondent. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
Boing.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Sean Bono. It's all about the Sean Bono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
He ate Tootsie or Wiener.
Now listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
Hey, just like that, we are into the second hour. Welcome. If you're just tuning in, you've missed the first hour. What could have possibly been more important than listening to Max Good review grills as we close the first hour? And Malcolm Reed, the most prolific barbecue star on YouTube and in general. What is more important than that? Nothing. However, I'm recording the show right now. It's also audio and video archiving itself automatically on places that I will tell you about here in a second. Still to come on the show, as I had mentioned on the way out of the first hour, Sam the Cooking Guy in just a few short moments. So be ready. We have plenty of great stuff to talk about. Don't forget, you can follow me socially at BBQ Central Show on Instagram and Twitter, TikTok, and Snapchat /BBQ Central Show on Facebook and Twitch, where you can find a live video feed. Also /RD Rempe on YouTube, where you can find a video feed as well. Also a chat on YouTube and Facebook. I see those roll in through the software interface. So whether you're using YouTube or Facebook, I will see them. And if they are really good, I will put them on the screen for everybody to say, man, I wish I was cool as that guy or gal. Coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less this Friday, episode 166 is in the queue, taking you back to March 4th, 2014. Show and barbecue legend Dr. Barbecue was my guest at that time. And we were taking questions from the Facebook faithful at that point, much like we did with Malcolm Reed in the first hour. We were doing it with Dr. Barbecue, with Ask Dr. Barbecue segment. We covered how to build a fire, kind of. We also talked about dessert on the grill. And let me say this. Long before Meathead made the mind-blowing statement that pineapple is the best thing to come off the grill no matter what, Dr. Barbecue was extolling the virtues of grilled pineapple back in 2014, and he did stop short of calling it the best thing ever to come off a grill. But as it related to desserts and fruit to grill, they were right there at the top of his list. We also talked about chicken. As always, it was a fun segment with Ray. I think you will enjoy the insights and stories that go along with his advice as you listen to him answer questions that people submitted during the Ask Dr. Barbecue segment. Don't forget, if you want to hear a guest or segment again on this show through the best of interface, just email John Solberg, the executive producer, John, Jon, at thebbqcentralshow.com, and let him know what you would like to hear or what date it might have happened or some key words, thoughts, ideas, so he can get to work and provide a best of show just for you. Maybe he'll even give you a shout out in the intro for the inspiration. But once again, you have to be subscribed to the podcast feed in order to get that. You know, we don't talk finances nearly enough on this show, and maybe because I'm rich as fuck, I don't really think about it that much. But I understand that it's not a skill that everyone learns early. Most folks don't learn early. My wife and I have spent countless hours with Bobby, Maddie, and Marley trying to teach them the value of $1 and how to save and what credit cards do and why you should have them and how you should use them and how they can benefit. Things like this. Real finance and life type stuff. So as we progress down the path of certain death, gang, I didn't know if you know about it, but nobody's getting out alive. So as we progress down the path of certain death, let me help you out by revealing to all of you a list of the best places you can live if you haven't saved that recommended $1 million at retirement age. This coming to you from a website called GoBankingRates.com, my favorite website ever. The best places to retire if you can't save $1 million. Nowadays, it's generally accepted that the $1 million benchmark is the ideal amount to save for retirement. But what if you're not on track to retire a millionaire? Well, you're not alone. In a recent study, GoBankingRates.com looked at the cost of living in America's major cities and calculated how long a nest egg of $650 or $750 or $850,000 would last in each. This study also takes into account the city's livability score and the percentage of the population age 65 and older. With these factors combined, we found some of the best places to retire in the United States for those who don't have $1 million. And that list is number 10, and hotly debated here on this show recently, the non-barbecue mecca of Des Moines, Iowa. How long will $850K last? How about 20.8 years? $750,000 will last you just over 18, and $650 will last you just shy of 16 years. There's livability score of 78, and the percentage of seniors 65 and older is 14%. So not only are they trying to increase the barbecue down there, it's also number 10 on the where you should retire list. Number 9, the ever-attractive city of Montgomery, Alabama. How long does $850 last you there? 22.3 years. Livability score a little less than Des Moines, 61. Number 8 on the list. You ever heard of Shreveport, Louisiana? $850 will last you 21.8 years. There's a livability score a little bit better than Montgomery with 66. Number 7 is Birmingham, Alabama. That will last you, $850 will last you the same as Montgomery, 22.8, with a score in between Shreveport and Montgomery of a livability of 62. Oh, wait. What's this number 6? How about the rock and roll city of Cleveland, Ohio, everybody? How long will $850 lead you here? 23.3 years. That's a lifetime. Livability score coming in at the ever-coveted 62. Number 5 on the list, Fort Wayne, Indiana, home of Sweetwater, which is my audio-visual headquarters. $850K will last you 21 and a half years. Number 4, Amarillo, Texas makes the list. How about number 3? A little further west of me here in Cleveland, Toledo, Ohio. $850,000 will last you 23.3 years in Toledo. The average annual expenditure for senior living in a Toledo area is $36,500 annual. Wait a second. Look at this. Number 2 on the list, and the home of LeBron James, a.k.a. Rowdy, Akron, Ohio. $850K in Akron will last you 24.4 years. Whoa. Holy moly. If you have all... Sam the Cooking Guy could sell his house in San Diego and live with that take on just the house alone for like 185 years in Akron. He could set up his kids and his grandkids and the great-grandkids. Rounding out the list, the ever-popular place to move, Brownsville, Texas. $850K will last you 24.1 years. It's got a livability score of 76. And you might be asking yourself, what is a livability score? The livability score is out of 100 that was designed to help people quickly and easily evaluate the quality of an area. The score consists of 7 categories and a dozen data points across multiple data sets. These include amenities, cost of living, crime, employment, housing, schools, user ratings, just to mention a few. So in case we missed the headline here on this non-live fire but live fire related list of where to live, if you haven't saved $1 million, number 6 on the list, if you need a refresher, Cleveland, Ohio. Well in the middle. 23.3 years on the $850K. I mean, who doesn't have $850K laying around that you're going to retire on? I know you do. I know I do. Sam the Cooking Guy will be joining me here in a few short moments. I'll talk to you quickly about Big Papa Smokers, the one-stop online shop for all things barbecue and grilling related. A selection of the great outdoor cooking and grilling supplies. You have 13 perfectly balanced flavors of rubs and seasonings. Sweet Money, Cattle Prod, Cash Cow, all proven winners on the competition scene and in the backyard. Perfectly balanced flavors. So you're getting high fives from the neighbors. You're getting high fives from the other grill masters. If it's competition scene, go to BigPapaSmokers.com to buy them all up. They also have Granny's barbecue sauce, what they own. So if you're done with everything else that's on the market, you want to try something new, Granny's barbecue sauce. That's what you need. Aside from the premium selection of rubs and sauces, Big Papa Smokers offering the very best pellet, charcoal, and wood cookers available today. Are you looking for a versatile smoker that's easy to use? Check out the Mac 2-star General Pellet Cooker. It's got a refreshed look. And Big Papa's the exclusive Mac dealer and even offering special packages. Not a fan of pellet smokers? Fine. Try the Old Hickory Ace BP. It's the only charcoal smoker that Big Papa trusts on his competition trailer. If you're a backyard barbecue enthusiast looking for something and you don't know where to turn, could you really go wrong with anything that Sterling and everybody else over at Big Papa Smokers is selling? Hell no. But if you have any questions, call them. 877-828-0727. That's 877-828-0727. Or shop their website at BigPapaSmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA Smokers.com. And we will await the arrival of Sam the Cooking Guy. He's probably shooting a video and uploading it as we speak, and he will soon be here. In the meantime, stand by and we'll be right back.
You're listening to the #1 most downloaded barbecue and grilling podcast anywhere. The Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet. Currently available in 2 sizes. We've been promised bigger sizes coming sooner than later. Trying to catch up with Noah Glanville on that so we can get a report. However, it is the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet. Whether you're beginner or professional, definitely a cooker you want to add to the arsenal. You visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them that the Barbecue Central show sent you. And who knows, if you mention something along these lines, I might send you that mega cute Pit Barrel Cooker coffee mug. In fact, even if you don't have a Pit Barrel Cooker, maybe you're just a fan of Pit Barrel Cookers, or you've always wanted one and for some reason you're not allowed to get one. Maybe you have a multitude of cookers already and your lover has said, hey, don't you even think about getting one more cooker on this deck or patio? And if you do, one's got to leave. Oh, those are the worst directions to get. So in the meantime, to maybe break your lover in on the new buy of the Pit Barrel Cooker, by the way, what is it, $300? It's way less than $400 for the regular version. It's less than that for the junior model. But to break this person in, why not get the Pit Barrel Cooker coffee mug and just have it staged around the house? Get it in her or his familiarity level, the comfortableness of it all. Here's my husband drinking coffee out of this Pit Barrel cooking mug. How adorable is that mug? Over time, you might find yourself the new owner of a Pit Barrel Cooker, all because you got that really cute Pit Barrel Cooker coffee mug. So head on over to pitbarrelcooker.com and get a coffee mug, for crying out loud. Why not? And use it to break in to get that Pit Barrel Cooker. You never know when you're going to need it. Folks, and then there's this. Oh, no. Is it gone? Is it gone? See, this is what happens. You sit on stories for months on end, and they go away. I don't even remember when I had this. Crap. Well, that blew up right in my face. Through Digest This back in July, whatever the hell it was. Beluga caviar is back. In case you were wondering, beluga caviar is back. Is it beluga? I think I've stated on the show once or twice before, I'm not necessarily that big of a caviar fan. I haven't had beluga caviar ever in my life. Is it sturgeon caviar that's like it's $248, a very minimal spoonful, and there's something that you put on it, creme fraiche or something like that. Who knows? I've had the salmon caviar that Stephen Reichland turned me on to, or salmon roe, or whatever you want. Caviar is more highfalutin. But I got it at Whole Foods. Wasn't over the moon about it. I've actually had some walleye caviar. Is it walleye caviar? At Larder Delicatessen on West 29th Street in Cleveland. Jeremy Umansky, proprietor. Now, his stuff is good. So whatever he puts in front of me, I'm happy to give a whirl to. Otherwise, I'm suspicious, to say the least, on any kind of caviar, because I'm not a fish guy. Really. This may come as a shock, but if the fish that you're going to serve me is, let's say, fishy, I'm really not going to be that big of a... I'm not going to be highly motivated to try it. That's why I get made fun of when I eat things like a flounder. Or what's the other one that everybody makes fun of me for? The hell is it? It's the one that's grown in Taiwan or whatever. Everybody's tilapia. Yeah, that's my thing. I like that. We got some form of sea bass, not the the toothfish, the snaggle toothfish, which is like real Chilean sea bass. We got some kind of sea bass from QVC that's really good, not fishy. But if it's got any kind of fishiness to it, I'm out. I'm not going to be eating that. It's gross. To me, it's gross. But if you like the beluga caviar, well, you're in luck because it's ready to rock and roll. And I had a whole take on that, but I waited and waited and waited and waited. It's not going to happen. I don't know if you're familiar with this, I think he's called the Cowboy Chuck Wagon Cook. Kent Rollins. Does anybody know Kent Rollins? I wasn't necessarily familiar with him. And my jeweler, barbecue jeweler to the stars, by the way, Stephen DeFranco. Special mention to Stephen. But he's been on my ass recently saying, hey, are you familiar with this Kent Rollins? Do you watch this Kent Rollins on YouTube? I think Steve must have found YouTube recently. Because Steve is, by the way, not through my promoting, a huge fan of Sam the Cooking Guy. In fact, a few months ago, I was meeting with Steve, and we were talking about live fire items and cooking and whatnot. And he said, hey, I watched this show on YouTube. It's called Sam the Cooking Guy. Are you familiar with it? And I said, what? And he said, yes, Sam the Cooking Guy. And I said, well, am I familiar with it? Like, does he show up on my show once a month? Yes, I'm familiar. And that brought a whole new level of, wow, you have Sam on your show and blah, blah, blah. Well, I said, yes, indeed I do. He's like, well, I just love his, but you got to check out this Kent Rollins. He's the Chuck Wagon Cook. And I said, okay, I'll get right on that. And then showed up a handful of weeks later doing some more business. And did you get on with that? How'd you get on with that Kent Rollins? I said, I haven't heard back from him. Well, meanwhile, I hadn't reached out to him and I forgot. So this time I made a run of it. So I went on to the Ken Rollins website and it was a contact page. I filled out the fields. I thought I made a pretty good pitch. Said, hey, I host the most popular barbecue and grilling podcast verified on the face of the earth. And, you know, things like this. With my jeweler, Stephen DeFranco, barbecue jeweler to the stars, raves about Kent. Said I should be booking him so we can talk about Chuck Wagon cooking or whatever. And said would love to book a date on some upcoming Tuesday. Let me know if you're interested. And I get an email back overnight. It says, hey, Greg, check out this page. And he sends me a link. And here's this link. And the link is this whole page of how to contact Kent for an interview. Pitch yourself. Be interesting. Provide statistics. Tell us what you want to talk to Kent about. Tell us why Kent should be a guest on your show. This whole thing. We get dozens of requests for Kent to be a guest on podcasts and TV shows and radio shows per week. All right? Affectionately signed, Skeeter. Well, I thought I made a pretty good pitch, Skeeter. But evidently, I'm not rating. Okay? He doesn't know in my signature that says #1 most downloaded live fire barbecue podcast. He can't put 2 and 2 together. He can't meet that bridge. And I certainly, I've said it before when people pitch themselves to be on the show. Don't just tell me book me on the show. Like, tell me why. But that's not what I'm doing here. I'm giving this guy audience. I'm potentially giving this guy audience. I'm potentially allowing him to use my platform for his promotion. This isn't me asking me to be a guest on Kent Rollins' show. So don't tell me how to pitch. I make my living pitching. By the way, Kent, you don't even have your own email address. It's Kent and Irma or Kent and Kelly, whatever the hell. Get your own email address, number one. Number two, nothing screams professionalism like having somebody read and reply back to your emails with the name Skeeter. Reeks of professionalism. I can't begin to stop the list of professional names that are Skeeter. Presidents of countries are named Skeeter. Captains of industry are named Skeeter. I can't name somebody that's successful that isn't named Skeeter. So if you're going to run back at me, telling me I need to recraft my pitch about your boss being on my show, I think I can do without the Chuck Wagon Cook on this show, everybody. Okay? Sam, are you even familiar with the Chuck Wagon Cook, Kent Rollins?
Absolutely.
You are?
Why wouldn't I be? I'm generally aware of.
I didn't
most
know
people
anything
in my
about him
space on
until
YouTube.
Steven DeFranco was like, you need to book this guy. And then Skeeter wrote me back and said that my pitch wasn't good enough. Skeeter did.
Come on.
Yes. Skeeter. You know Skeeter, right?
I say it's too bad because he seems, from honestly, I was going to say he seems like a really nice guy. He's like super deep country. I don't know where he's from, but
somewhere in the plains, I bet, because he Chuck Wagon cooks.
If Spielberg was casting a part for a super country cowboy Chuck Wagon Cook,
yeah,
this guy would get the job just walking in the door and just saying howdy or hello or hey y'all kind of thing.
And he has people named Skeeter working for him, filtering out the email, sending me back a link that says, here, check out this page on how to pitch.
It's funny, he's got this appearance that he would just be a good old boy.
Yeah.
Just cooking ribs out here on my old smoker, and there's my dog chewing on my leg, and yet he's got a whole bunch of people in the background working on his behalf. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Skeeter is a name of somebody that you would think would live in the next town over.
Yes.
In a shed or something.
He has layers of insulation. I do not.
And yet he has the balls. Skeeter has the balls to say the pitch wasn't good enough.
Yes.
For the number one downloaded barbecue podcast.
Most downloaded barbecue and grilling podcast anywhere. The Barbecue Central Show.
And it doesn't get any more qualified than when David Lee says that you're the number one show. Like that's
maybe he's never heard of Steven Reichlin.
I don't know. I can only imagine. I can only imagine that Kent Rollins must have just gotten into the live fire industry. That's all I can deduce. Or Skeeter must have.
He's got a decent audience. What's the size of his audience?
I don't know. I think I have roughly 7,000 here.
No, him.
Skeeter?
No, not Skeeter.
Kent Rollins. Okay, let's do this real quick. Kent Rollins. I'm just going to look up the Twitter right now. Kent Rollins has 6,736 followers on Instagrams.
Okay, good.
Or I'm sorry,
go to the YouTube.
On Twitter. On Twitter?
Go to YouTube. Yeah.
No, Greg Rempe, 9,500. So don't ask me to provide my stats when I'm double your stats.
I'm not asking you to provide. Oh, is Skeeter asking you to provide your stats?
Yes, of course.
What did Skeeter say? Read his exact response.
No. Now I got to try and
I
dig
like
it up.
Kent Rollins.
All right. You don't have to not like him. Like I'm saying, it was Skeeter. Skeeter has recommended. Skeeter has email access to Kent and Shannon Rollins. So Kent doesn't even have his own email address. It's Kent and Shannon Rollins. That's neither here nor there.
They may not have electricity.
Yeah.
Skeeter may need to drive out there and stand at the end of the.
He's got something. He's
he's
replying on a computer. Here's one of the replies back. Thanks, Greg. Your reply was missing a lot of information that was requested when pitching. When you mentioned that your jeweler is a big fan, that doesn't give me much information about what would be about what would be valuable for the podcast. What is it about Kent that you find interesting and of value to the show? Social following stats were also not included. We need those details. We receive a lot of requests, so we like to be as thorough as possible. Guess what? Skeeter's a liar. They don't get a lot of requests. I guarantee
I don't get any requests.
Yeah, I mean, you're you got probably 7 million more followers on YouTube than Kent Rollins has.
No, go take a look at his YouTube. I think he's got a good audience.
All right. Well, I mean, as someone who has a good audience, you would know. So I'm going to tell you here in 1 second. Kent Rollins.
I seem to remember.
Here we go.
Kent Rollins.
What are those suggestions? Well, Kent Rollins has 1.58 million YouTube subscribers.
So I told you.
Yeah. Well, so you know him because he's got audience, is what you're saying. Here's this guy. Here's Kent Rollins right here. There he is. You're right. He does look like the Chuck.
I'm telling you, it's Central Casting.
The prodigal. Oh, that's right. He was on that Chopped Live Fire. Yes. I remember that. That was the one that the grill girl was on, and they kicked her out on the first one because she undercooked oysters, I believe it was. Those are tough to cook, I think.
That's a unforgivable mistake.
Yeah. Well, look, I have more Twitter followers than he does, and you have more YouTube subscribers than he does. So we're both winning at life. And Kent has a screener named Skeeter that tells me to go pound salt. Unbelievable.
No, he wouldn't have said it. Would have been pound dirt because that's
pound dirt. Go piss up a
like
flagpole, y'all.
Is he in Oklahoma?
Sure, why not?
I've had Max and I have talked about Kent Rollins before and said it'd be fun to do like some collaboration with him.
You know, that brings me to my next topic, by the way.
Go ahead.
When did you become such an onion bully? Like,
just
you are
having fun
literally calling me out on your millions and millions of subscribers, calling me things like little Greggy Rempe. Can't eat this hamburger because I got onions on it. Well, heaven forbid.
Is that not true?
Heaven forbid.
Is that not true? Wait, is that not true?
It is 100% true.
Well, so what's the problem? Truth?
But it wouldn't be a problem if you say, hey, by the way, my good pal, Greg Rempe over in Cleveland, Ohio, isn't a fan of onions, so instead, he cannot have onions on this burger. Instead, it's like, get with the program, onions makes everything better. Basically, I'm a loser for not eating onions. That's what I'm drawing out of this.
You know, one of the things that we try and do in Sam the Cooking Guy YouTube channel is
force people to eat onions.
In addition to showing them things that they can make, encouraging them, wanting their food lives to be better. One of the other things along with that, along with giving good information and stuff like that, is to entertain.
Yes.
Now, what's more fun for the people watching? To hear me bitch about little Greggy Rempe that won't eat this burger because it's got onions on it, or my friend Greg in the city of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame isn't a fan of onions. So if I was him, Greg, I would just push them off to the side and substitute mushrooms or something, blah, blah, blah. It's not fun.
Mushrooms.
It's not fun. It's not funny.
It's not funny. It's not fun?
No, it's the other way around.
All right.
Fun comes first.
It's not fun. It's not funny.
Peace and love. Exactly. Peace and love.
That's what we're selling
There you
here.
go.
That's what we're selling.
There
All
you
right,
go.
let's talk
There
about
you go.
pellet cookers. What do you know about pellet cookers?
I know that before a few years ago, I'd used them only sparingly.
Under protest?
They are. I'm sorry.
Under protest?
No.
All right.
I just don't know why I didn't. I'm a very big fan of pellet cookers. I think they are a godsend to people that don't want too much work involved when they want to smoke something. They don't want to have to go out and change, add wood, stoke the fire, put more sticks in, all that kind of stuff. It's really plug and play with results nearly as good as you would get off a non-pellet cooker. Now, are you going to win competitions with them?
Yes.
I don't know for sure, but I'm going to guess because I emceed a big KC BS event here a few years ago, and that's where I saw my first big-ass commercial pellet smoker. And I even asked the guy that was showing me around before I started announcing the awards, is that thing legal? And he was like, yep. I go, so we're looking at two guys side by side under their tents. That guy put something on at whatever, midnight and can go to sleep. He probably won't, but he could. And that poor guy is going to sit in that lawn chair and do something every couple hours. He goes, that's right. So why wouldn't everybody have them? He goes, well, some people just don't like them. Some people want the absolute control. I did some, you saw that picture of the short ribs I did.
Yeah.
A 10-hour cook. Those looked as good as any that I've seen pictures of on social media of people, extolling the virtues of their non-pellet cooker and getting the smoke ring and the juiciness and the beautifulness. I think they're great for a lot of people.
And we want to give a special mention to our pal Doug Scheiding.
Scheiding.
Yes.
Hi, Doug.
There he is.
Yeah, so Scheiding and I have been talking something, and then you had that big conversation. There was a conversation recently about cleaning, and do you clean, and do you cover, and all that kind of stuff. And somehow, Scheiding and I were chatting, and he said something about cleaning, and I was like, oh, crap, I haven't done that for a while. So I went the other day, took the grate out, I took the drip pin, took the thing, everything's out, and I came across on the left side of that fire pot, the ash was probably 1.5 inches thick.
Oh, dear.
Not anymore. Now it's clean as a whistle.
Yeah. Shop
so
vac
I sent
it
that
out.
to Doug. I don't have a shop vac. And I questioned whether I should use my house vacuum, and I was quickly brought to my senses thinking, no, that's not going to be a good thing.
Oh.
Because the next time somebody goes to clean the carpet, it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
So I did it all by hand. I used a bench scraper, got almost all of it out. It's not 100% perfect, but and I sent that to Doug so he knew that I was listening to him.
There is a lawsuit going on right now between Traeger and Green Mountain Grills. As someone who's kind of in the periphery here, I don't know how much you're up to speed on that, but do you have any thoughts on it? Just in general?
I'm up to speed. I'm a fan of the #1 most downloaded barbecue and live fire podcast in the world. So
yes,
go ahead.
Did you have thoughts on
it? Yeah. My first thought was this: why the hell didn't Green Mountain go and file for patents?
Right.
I think it's probably everybody's question. I'm sure that's even their question,
or anybody else besides Traeger at that point.
Exactly, because they weren't the only guys. Green Mountain were not the only people.
Right.
And yet I find myself wanting to hate Traeger for trying to snuff out the little kids. I just don't like it. I don't like it. I understand it's business. We have a bunch of T-shirts that we sell. One of them says, if fat means flavor, then I'm fucking delicious. Sam the Cooking Guy. When I see that online with my name, my signature across the bottom, not on it, well, if I see it online, not in my own store, right. I know somebody's ripping me off. And so I will write to the site that hosts that page and tell them, this is who we are. This is ours. Here's our design. They always take it down. But is that the same thing? I don't
so
know.
I've been conflicted all the way along here because, as I had said last week with the embedded correspondence, I mean, Green Mountain Grill has been a longtime sponsor of the show. I think Jason Baker, who is the face of Green Mountain Grill, easily, and I think I went on record last week as saying the best human in the live fire industry, might be the best human ever in general, would bend over backwards to be ethical and moral and do everything right on the business side of things. And then what about filing for patents? If nobody else has done it and you think you want to do it and you want to give it a shot, and then bam, you're awarded them. I mean, you can't argue or you can't fault Traeger for doing it. And then every other company has the option of now trying to fire those down or get them invalidated. And Green Mountain Grill was the only one at that time to say, hey, this is BS and these patents should be taken back. And then when it was brought to a hearing, they were ruled against. And they said, no, we're gonna keep those patents with Traeger. And I think Traeger just got pissed off, and within a few days, all of a sudden you have a lawsuit against Green Mountain Grills via Traeger. So kicking the hornet's nest and things like this. And I think my hope in the end is that, there will be no settlement or no licensing or anything that anybody else is going to have to pay in order to use this, because it has been proven that Mac and Green Mountain Grills and probably a couple other folks were using this technology before Traeger got the patent. And I understand that just because you're doing that doesn't mean that that patent is invalidated. There's other processes that can take place to try and do that before this eventually gets to court sometime in the fall. But I would just like to see the court say, hey, you know what? Maybe we effed up here, and this is just too general. You know, you didn't invent Wi-Fi. You didn't invent apps. So we can't let you do this anymore, and they just open it back up. I mean, there's so much non-market penetration by the pellet cooker industry when you look at gas and charcoal cookers that's
crazy.
Nobody should be strangling anybody out at this point. It's when, if this was Weber and Traeger going at each other, and who knows, depending on how the ruling goes, it could be Weber and Traeger going at each other because Weber has a app connected and
so what if they go after Weber? Come on.
They haven't
alone.
kicked it. This is eventually gonna spool up into the whole pellet industry. So depending on how a rule goes, if it goes against Green Mountain Grills, then you have now an exorbitant hit list that Traeger can start sniping after.
You know how I feel about that? Like this. Did I do that as well as he did?
You tell me.
I don't know. That wasn't really him. That was a sound effect, right?
This is really him.
Stop.
Yes.
Every time you've played that, I thought you just had a sound effect.
No, that's him.
Can we all just agree that was rude as F?
Well,
I mean, look, you're the host. Maybe you can't say that. I will say that. I thought that was rude. I didn't like that.
My thought was that he was in he felt comfortable and was just in conversation. And if I would have been in his face, the same. Oops, I thought I killed that. The same thing would have happened whether I was in person or whether he was on the show.
But I'm surprised, as I think many of your listeners would be, especially after you give me crap about things I say and do, that you didn't say to him, hey, Mo, you need to do me a favor and maybe not crunch ice right into the microphone?
Yeah, but I
or
honestly,
save it for after.
I wasn't noticing it as much until after the fact. I was lost in listening mode. And so, like, I was hearing it, but it wasn't registering to the point of, like, hey, can you not do that? Or, what kind of a professional are you? Kind of these things. So
your listeners and viewers don't know this, but you sent me a text like the next day and whenever that hour aired and said, hey, have you had a chance to listen to it yet? What'd you think? And my response was something like, I don't know, I couldn't get past the ice crunching.
Right.
That. Couldn't get past it.
Right.
It was whatever.
All right, so stand by.
It just went with his, sorry.
No, go ahead. It went with what?
I was just going to say, it kind of just fit his whole style that night, everything he was saying and, whatever.
All right, well, stand by for 1 second. I'm going to do a quick read here, and then that'll finish me up, and we'll be able to go to the bitter end from there. We're talking with Sam the Cooking Guy. TheCookingGuy.com is his website. Go subscribe to him if you're not already over on YouTube as well. 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, putting out great cooking videos. I'll talk to you quickly about Kosmo's Q, based out of Oklahoma. Kosmo's Q, providing both backyard and competition cooks World Championship level rub sauces, injection soaks, and brines. And their exclusive wing dust is available on the market right now. Best of all, every one of their products are tested and made right here in the USA. Kosmo's Q continues to break new ground in rub seasoning sauces and the injection world. And the results not only proven on the competition trail each and every year, but they're also proven in the backyard as well. More and more backyard warriors are looking to take their barbecue to the next level. There's no easier or better way to do that but by picking championship quality rubs and sauces and injections and marinades. And it's not just the barbecue game. They got you covered there, but they can also help ramp up the grill game as well. By the way, Kosmo, definitely known a thing or two about grilling since he's a world championship steak cook. That's right. Now, I know I've done a good enough job at motivating you to try Kosmo's Q if you haven't already. But if you need some more pushing, how about this? 10% off your entire order each and every time you visit the website. That's Kosmos with a K, KosmosQ.com. And you can use promotional code BBQ Central, capitalized, all one word, at checkout. You'll get 10% off the entire order. Snowed in, like us? Yes. You can go ahead and use that discount code to stock up on everything you need for the barbecue season when it rolls around. If you're able to cook outside all year round, use this code to stock up on everything you need so you can keep everything handy. That's Kosmos Q. That's Kosmos with a K, the letter Q.com, and the code BBQ Central. While you're there, make sure you check out the very popular blog, the recipe blog, and as you might be aware of, he's also got a fairly extensive YouTube channel as well. If you're not subscribed there, head on over, ring the bell, and subscribe to be alerted to new content. See why Kosmos just win. That's Kosmos with a K, the letter Q.com, and use promo code BBQ Central for 10% off your entire order. We are back with more Sam the Cooking Guy right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the #1 most downloaded barbecue and grilling podcast anywhere. The BBQ Central Show. Celebrating over 10 years of prolific and unparalleled live fire barbecue and grilling talk. And yes, it's still being done from Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Show.
If you haven't already, go over to smokinwithsmithfield.com. If you're a committed cook or you are competing and you win, make sure that you enter in all your top place finishes over at smokinwithsmithfield.com so they can watch that. Maybe send you some extra swag as well. For tips and tricks and recipes, smithfield.com. Joined by Sam the Cooking Guy.
You know, I'm just sitting here through the break thinking about Kent Rollins and Skeeter.
Yes.
Maybe Skeeter should have taken 2 seconds to take a look at what you do, because I think your audience is 100% perfect.
Yes.
For him.
That's why I didn't tell Steve DeFranco to go pound dirt. I was like, you know what? Fine. I mean, he's cooking over a fire. We've done any number of different live fire recipes or techniques. What do you call that? The cast iron pot, Dutch oven cooking, I think that's what I mean, so it would make perfect sense.
Yeah. When somebody reaches out and says, hey, well, Sam, want to come be on this podcast or, whatever. I don't ask for their stats. I don't ask why they would want me on. I go look to see if it's a place that makes sense for me.
Yeah.
And how this couldn't make sense for him is beyond me.
The first reply that I got back from Skeeter was, let's go ahead and blow this all the way out to the end. Here's what I wrote. Hey, Kent.
Good.
I didn't know this was going to Skeeter. Hey, Kent, my name's Greg Rempe. I host a weekly internet-based show that covers the barbecue and grilling industry, much like ESPN covers the world of sports. My jeweler is a huge fan and has turned me on to you, and I wanted to know if you might be open for coming on the show for an interview. I wanted to see if you might have an interest to come on the show some Tuesday night to talk about your background and, of course, talk about the joys of chuck wagon cooking. My show is done live every Tuesday night from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. It's also being recorded at the same time for release in my podcast feed later in the week. Let me know if you have any interest, and we can go from there. Please see my website in my signature to get a feel for how the show runs. Best regards, Greg Rempe.
Yeah.
Like that pitch has landed me aside from Kent Rollins, every other guest I have ever solicited.
Because everybody does this. They go, oh, I wonder what this is. And they go and they look. And they watch or they listen and they go, this is perfect for us. I can imagine the audience that makes up this his following, and they'd be perfect for me.
The first response I got from Skeeter was, hi, Greg. I recommend you check out the media/podcast request page. Sends me a hyperlink. Holler if you have any questions.
He's got that? Will you send that to me? Maybe Skeeter. I need that. What is that?
But here's the problem. This link that he sent me, it's not like highly visible. Like when you look at the top of his website, and then he's got smaller navigation things. It's not like it says a request for media. Right? It's all the way down at the bottom of like the contact page. It's not visible. So like, how important is it really? Like if you're getting that many requests, you would make your own navigation, like how to ask me for an interview or something. Don't bury it down on the navigation tab somewhere and then send me the hyperlink like, hey, dummy, it was right in front of your face. It's not. It's not. So please note, we receive lots of requests. Make yours unique. Number one, research. Your audience and our audience should overlap so the content we produce together is relevant. Number two, craft an intriguing subject line. The subject line of your email is the only information we initially see, so make it good. Bad subject line, please come on my podcast or interview request. Third piece of advice, write a compelling pitch. Please note, we receive dozens of pitches to appear on podcasts and interviews. Your pitch has to be unique and exciting if you expect to get our attention. Generalized pitches and templates will not be responded to. Keep your pitch brief. Explain what type of format you are offering. Please include the following stats as well: email lists, social media, etc. Last bit of advice.
Oh, God, sorry.
Provide lots of value. What value can you offer? How will our audience and your audience benefit? The end. Do you want me to send that to you so you guys can start sending that back? Like, have you ever had anybody ask you to be on the show? Like, hey, can I come on the show? Do you get that?
Come on my show?
Yeah, like, do people pitch themselves to come on the show?
Occasionally.
Would you ever send that back to somebody?
Oh, I would never send that back.
Hey, who was the dude you had, the Philly steak guy? What was his name?
Oh, Tony Luke.
Yeah. Hey, Tony Luke. Check the link. Peace. Skeeter. You think you ever would have heard from Tony Luke again?
Yeah. Well, look, now we get requests all the time, and it's easy because my channel doesn't lend itself to guests. It really doesn't.
Right. You're the guy.
Somebody. Then we had guests. Tony Luke. Not very many of them. Vincent Jackson.
Right.
That recently passed away.
The singers.
What singers?
You had singers in your kitchen singing one night when you made saucy pasta for the first time.
Oh, that couple.
Yes, they were great.
Yeah.
God, the live show was so fun. All right.
I know. You're the only one that watched it, though.
I know. No, that's not true. There were at least 10.
Like 1,000 views.
Yeah, there were at least 10 other people watching.
I don't know that. I don't know that.
You had a studio audience. Your wife was watching. Max and Lynn in some other room of the house production.
I'm not talking about the 3 people that were there. I'm talking about people that were home.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
When we decided not to do it, I was most upset because I was going to be, felt like I was going to be turning my back on an elderly woman in Brooklyn.
Right. Look, it makes total sense why you head for the hills from the live cast. I mean, I have to tell you that at the time, I don't know if anybody was doing anything like that. It was so avant-garde. It was so cutting edge.
But why did
I was
nobody
so
watch
jealous.
It? It was awful. I think it was awful.
What?
It made you feel good about yourself, about your own show, because it was so bad.
I was like, wow, this guy
it was so great. Why did nobody watch it?
Well, look, I mean, Now we know why nobody watched it.
Why?
Most of the people in this world are anti-Semitic. There's nothing else to say about it.
But so far, then they've forgotten that I'm Jewish because a lot more people are watching now.
What we've come to learn is that while we think that a live show would attract more, you are now pigeonholing people into only seeing live this time frame. In reality, what we should have known, 10 or 11 years ago or 12 years ago when you were doing it is, people want to watch and consume now and going forward to present day on their own schedule. Nobody watches this show live. There's only one reason I do this show live, because I wouldn't do the show otherwise. There's no doubt in my mind that I would not.
But you don't do it live. You go, nobody watches live, and yet you get tons of views and stuff because after the fact, we would post it. It didn't matter who watched then. I didn't care about that 30 people, 100 people in the live little chat area, whatever it was, fine. But then a week later, 2 weeks later, a month later, we get 500 views, 1,000 views, 2,000, 3,000 views. Right. That was it. Everyone. When we changed the format, it almost immediately changed. It was almost an overnight transition from nothing to a lot. And now, post an episode within a.
But why? Because people didn't want to watch for an hour. They didn't watch. They didn't want to watch an hour.
No, I guess not. I guess not.
I don't know. I was a big fan, and I loved the format.
You were the only.
Now look, I agree. I love watching the 3 a week. Dude, now you're right in that 15 to 20 minute mark. Look, obviously, that's a good time that you need to meet.
That's our sweet spot. Look, I go back now. If I start watching one of the old episodes, I have to stop. I cannot. I can't make it through.
I rewatched that Vincent Jackson after he passed away a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Are you not telling me that show?
That was the
you
one.
Didn't
only
like that. Like he was live in your kitchen, whatever.
No,
kitchen.
Look, I loved the interview with Vincent Jackson. We were friends. I mean, you had casual friends at the time. We, had dinner together once. 4 of us, his wife and me and Kel, had a really nice time. But what I liked about that was that it wasn't sports talk. It was fringe sports. It was about food.
Right.
What kind of Gatorade they have, or pregame meals, what do you eat after, what do you do when you're on the road, how do the hotels treat you, that kind of stuff. That, for me, that's the interesting stuff. And I thought that it was stuff that hadn't been covered with Vincent Jackson. And honestly, I went to post that interview. I was going to cut out the cooking of that and just have that shortened 30-minute interview. And I went to post it like 3 or 4 times after he passed. And I couldn't do it.
Why?
I felt like, on one side, I was torn. On one side, I wanted people to see a side of Vincent Jackson, a side of a professional NFL player that they normally wouldn't see unless you knew one.
Right.
But then I felt like I don't know, like jumping on the wagon or something, like getting eyeballs after a tragic situation. If he had passed away from old age, I would have done it. But the fact that he went out sadly the way he did, I still don't know. I haven't heard. I just couldn't do it. It's there if somebody wanted to watch it, but I can't. I just can't.
I think in that
I was
instance,
going to post it on Instagram.
It's certainly your prerogative, of course, and final decision should always lay with you. But from an outsider looking in, I think I agree with you. You have a unique interview with him to showcase him in a way that most people probably didn't know him. A lot of fans of Vincent Jackson probably just knew him as a wide receiver that played for the Chargers for a while and then was traded once or twice otherwise going down the road. And there's no benefit for you other than to say, hey, I knew this guy a little bit, and here's a different perspective to see. Now, look, I can understand that because I was going to say, what's the difference between me posting the long interview that I had with Mike Mills, who had recently passed away from 17th Street Barbecue in Murfreesboro, Illinois, a couple years ago when I was down doing live shows at the NBBQA in Fort Worth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, he was, an older guy and, passed away. I mean, it's always unexpected, I guess, but I mean, he was an older guy. So it was like, oh, that sad Mike Mills passed away, but he's lived a good, healthy barbecue life, blah, blah, blah. Vincent Jackson was like, not even 40 or barely 40 or whatever.
I think he was 38.
Yeah. So, I mean,
and you know
really
what? Here's the thing. He was a big guy. I mean, he was a professional football player, man. He was a big guy. And you saw his aggression on the field, and when he'd make a touchdown, just all the adrenaline that hits. And yet he was so quiet and so soft-spoken. It was a lovely side of him that people seldom got to see.
He seemed shy almost when he was sitting with
Didn't he? Yeah.
Like he was a fan and shy at the same time.
Yeah. Well, I said at the beginning of that interview, I talked about how we met. And for your listeners, his then girlfriend and ultimately his wife came up to me at a Charger game one day and said, I'm a fan. And my boyfriend is a huge fan of yours. So we talked for a minute, and she said a couple things. I don't know quite exactly sure what she said. And I said, who's your boyfriend? She goes, oh, he's one of the Chargers. And I go, who's that? And she goes, Vincent Jackson. So then we crafted this plan to surprise Vincent, come over to my house for dinner one night. Lindsay knew. Of course I knew. Kelly knew. And he gets to the front. They get to the front door. He doesn't know. She said they're going to some work thing. She was a teacher. And they ring the doorbell. I open it up. He's there. He says hi. And they come in. They come in the foyer. I close the door, and he's barely acknowledging me or anything. And she looks at him, and she goes, Vincent, you're being rude. He goes, I'm really kind of surprised. I don't really know what to say. and then he calmed down. He was shocked at seeing little Sam the cooking guy. And I mean little, I mean like this, right? Like he's here and I'm here. But such a sweetheart of a guy. I mean, people should listen to it if they want to get a different side of somebody in the NFL.
Yeah.
But But I, whatever. You're right. Teach his own. I couldn't do it. I couldn't post it. I can talk about it. People have asked me about it that knew, and they go, "Where is it?" I go, "It's out there. Go find it. Just type in Vincent Jackson. Something will come up."
Wildly off track. There's two other things that I wanted to ask you about this evening.
Sure. Yeah.
Getting back into the live fire category, I had asked Malcolm Reed earlier in the first hour. We talked a little bit about technology on cookers, and you and I have bantered back and forth a little bit on this, but really never dug in depth. So technology in general being added to cookers, and I'm sure people ask you now about grills to buy, and the people follow up with you with how much tech is on that grill. So when people are asking you what grill should I buy, are they also asking you about, is it app controlled, and is it going to give me these instructions or those instructions as far as why they would want to purchase potentially?
No, they're not, and I don't give a shit about that stuff. This may hurt Doug Scheiding's feelings.
Doug is not the president of Traeger.
No, I realize that. But I have never once used the app with my Traeger. Not once.
Ever.
No. I mean, what am I going to do? I'm going to sit at my office.
Okay,
so at the house. So if I had an office, I don't give a
So this is the conversation
bells and whistles,
that I'm
man,
trying to figure out.
It's like an Instapot that does 75 things, and one of them is make the freaking yogurt or Pablo. I don't know what it is. Something weird like that. And the more you see, the better you think it is. The reality is, how much of that stuff do you really need? The fact that I can dial my Traeger to 2 1/4 and smoke comes out and I put proteins on and shut the lid and go away, that's enough for me. It really is. Oh, I'd like to plug in the temperature probe. But I don't need theirs to do that, right? I either can use a temperature, what are those things called?
Thermopen.
The thermometer, Thermopen, right?
Fireboard.
A Fireboard, of course, which I have, but no, I don't need it all built in.
Is it do you think? Look, I mean, you're kind of new to the barbecue game, so you're in a unique spot here. So I regale Malcolm with, I'm the old man on the lawn barbecue guy. when I got
Yeah,
into
yeah.
it now
Yeah, yeah.
17 years ago or whatever it was, there wasn't any of this available. There was a barbecue guru that you could put on a ceramic cooker or a bullet style smoker
Sure.
to regulate temperature.
Yeah, yeah.
But otherwise, it was roundly accepted and taught that you had to learn your cooker, whatever cooker that was, so you could be an efficient pit master. And then over time, this technology has entered into the arena and is now being attached to more and more cookers. So I'm trying to temper what I think versus what actually might be happening. Whereas I had to learn how to do this, and then ultimately I progressed into a pellet cooker or something a little bit more brainless. Now people can go in brainless, and unlike me going
And
from
know nothing.
knowing how to do it and going brainless, they can continue to not have to learn anything if they don't want to, and that's my concern. But I don't know if I'm old with that, because as I had said before, 20-year-olds and 25-year-olds getting into grilling and barbecue now have only been around technology. They have never known what it's like to be without a cell phone or high-speed internet or laptop computer or iPad. So wouldn't it make sense that grills should have all of this other stuff because they're used
I don't think
to
it does. Look, I am a very not techie guy. I mean, I use technology. I have computers. I know all this stuff. I have a Tesla. And I don't know, like every 3 days, I feel like I get into it and it says, here, set up the Wi-Fi. And I'm like, no. I push the X. What am I effing Wi-Fi in my Tesla for? And it's only really going to work when I don't want it. You know the cookbook, The Joy of Cooking? Do you know that?
Yes, of course. Julie Child?
Huge, very. No.
No?
I don't think so. Anyway, giant cookbook, The Joy of Cooking. It's old school. They still reprint it, update it. That's what I get from cooking. There's a joy in it. I love it. I love. We did pressure cooker short rib ragu today. Yes, I used the benefit of the sped up thing, but cooking I like, smoking I like, grilling I like. I don't want to be told when to flip it. All this BS that's coming with this new Weber, whatever it is. What's it called?
The Weber Connect Genesis and Spirit line of gas grills.
Turn your thing now. Do this. Go scratch your nuts. Have another beer. Come back outside in 15 minutes. Open the lid. Look at it. See if it's nice. Then go back inside. Say hi to your wife. I don't want that. I want to be able to. You got to learn how to change a tire. I taught all my kids how to change a tire, right? Something they need to know.
Yeah.
Right? Learn how to cook. Learn how to cook. We're just get a Postmates account and spend for all that. So I don't want that. I don't want a barbecue that also is an oven with some controlled device thing. I don't really want that. I told you, I've said for years, a grill is just an oven that's outside and you can use it like that.
Right.
But why now I need some device to tell me how to make it that? Forget it. Learn how to use your shit.
The Joy of Cooking is written by Irma Rombauer and Marion Rombauer Becker.
There you go.
Did that ring a bell? Because I was way off.
Sisters and no, that sounds to me that sounds right. Obviously sisters and then one got married.
Obviously, yes, indeed.
Rombauer Becker.
Do you feel
and stayed within the tribe? No,
do you think that the manufacturers feel a pressure to have this included? Maybe they believe
100%. No, I think that when you're going down the line, when you go to barbecues galore, and you're looking at 10 grills, if you get to the last one, they've all been a grill, 2 knobs, 3 burners, 2 burners, 4 burners, whatever it is. The thing at the back, rotate, whatever. You get to the very last one, and then the guy goes, yeah. So not only does this have 3 burners, Mr. Buyer, but you can use it like an oven. You can set. You hearing music?
Yes. Is that me?
I think it's from the other room.
Oh yeah.
I think it's my house. Sorry. not only does this do it all those other 9 did, but this one with your phone, you can turn it on to 350 and then cook a chicken in it.
Yeah.
Without getting up from your easy chair. I think they feel like it's the way they got to compete.
If I told you that a thermostatically controlled gas grill is ready to hit the market vis-a-vis Canada in the next few weeks,
my people,
and there's no release or thought that it would actually make it down here in the States at this point, but is that something that intrigues you, or does that also sadden you a little bit?
No. You can't stop technology. It's going to happen. It's really going to happen. You see those grills with the searing plate?
Yeah.
I think that's an absolute waste of space.
Like with the ceramic 1800 sear zone?
Yeah. I mean, you buy a grill that's, I don't know, call it 36 inches, except, I don't know, 12 of those inches only work on 1800 degrees. I think you're shooting yourself in the foot. Spaces. Get as big a grill as you can buy. That's my advice. Yep. Buy the biggest grill that you can afford, and you'll be happy with it. But now you've got a grill and, a third of it you can't use unless it's at like 1800 degrees. Well, how's that going to help you when you want to do a shit ton of chicken or ribs or who cares? Burgers. Right. No, I don't like it. But it's going to happen. You can't stop it. Doesn't mean I have to buy it or be happy about it.
And that's right.
And now I'm the old man on the on the lawn.
That's right. I knew I could get you on the lawn at some point. Thank goodness.
Hey, you kids.
Hey, kids.
Hey, you kids.
Uphill both ways. Sam the Cooking Guy is joining me right here on the show, and you can find him making videos for your pleasure 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and they are released. So subscribe if you are not already, and you can see all the recipes and everything else over at thecookingguy.com. Sam, always appreciate the time, and we will do it again next month.
Love being here, man. Thank you.
There he is.
Peace.
Sam the Cooking Guy, right there. Man, okay, all right. What am I even doing here? First, I'll wrap up. Yeah, okay. I missed that? I don't want to be the old man lawn guy, but I think I am. Sam's right there with me. We're trying to figure it all out. I think, as Sam said, technology is going to be on these grills. As John Solberg wrote in the chat, that I'm not going to post because it'll take up the whole screen. This is just the way it is. And as Sam deftly mentioned, he doesn't have to like it, and more importantly, he doesn't have to buy it. Truth. All right. We will wrap the show. We're a little long, so stick around. We'll be right back.
Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back, and thanks again to Sam the Cooking Guy for joining me the last 2 segments. This portion of the show being brought to you by Vortic Watches, a small batch custom watch manufacturing and vintage restoration company located in Northern California, or Colorado. They take antique American Pock watches and turn them into wrist watches. Their mission, preserve and enhance the legacy of manufacturing excellence in America. In order to do that, they combine traditional and cutting-edge technology to create unique quality, functional timepieces with exceptional value. Here's the coolest part. Each watch that Vortic makes is a unique, one-of-a-kind timepiece. Vortic, founded on the motto that America wasn't assembled, it was indeed built. You can find out more by visiting VorticWatches.com. That's VORTIC, VorticWatches.com. One went out for sale today, and I got the email 20 minutes late. It was gone. And it was spectacular looking. They have the marketing thing down. Like, people are chomping at the bit every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern to see that watch come up, and it is gone within minutes. So if you're looking to get one and you want to be on the list, sign up for their list, and then just make sure you tune in around 2 p.m. Eastern, noon Mountain Time to get your first shot. I don't recall the last 3 or 4 that I've seen. By the time I get to them, they're already sold. So anyway, let's go ahead and race out of here all the way back in the first hour. Malcolm Reed joined us, Killer Hogs pitmaster and creator of How to Barbecue Right, howtobbqright.com, his website, and subscribe to him on YouTube. Max Good from Amazing Ribs came on. We talked about the Spark Grill and a few other ones as well. AmazingRibs.com is his website that he works for, the keeper of the flame. And then second hour, we're saying the cooking guy. Appreciate everybody jumping in on the chat through Facebook and YouTube. Big show planned for you next week. Meathead will be in, amongst others. September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, this is your program host and proud U.S. American Greg Rempe. Good night now.